Hey comic book fans, it's Mike Fitzgerald back with First Issue Review. In this episode I'm reviewing Namor, the First Mutant, #1 by Marvel Comics. So the first thing I want to address about this new series is its title, Namor, the First Mutant. Now, a lot of us know Namor is an Atlantean human hybrid, but in addition to that he has these little wings on his feet that allow him to fly, making him a mutant. Which I understand. But I don't think of him as a mutant. And for most of his 70 years of existence, no one's really defined the character as a mutant. The first issue of this series falls under the Curse of the Mutant storyline currently going on in all the X-Men comics. So now Namor is considered one of the X-Men comics. Never thought of Namor as a mutant. Think this, I won't go as far as to say it's a ploy, but X-Men comics do pretty well. Namor comics, as of recent, haven't done as well. I mean, this is the first new ongoing series for Namor in over 6 years. Is this an attempt to put Namor in with the cool kids to help improve his popularity with the readers? I'll leave that for you to judge. My opinion is yes, though. Yes. Okay. That's fine in its own. Unfortunately, with this current Curse of the Mutants storyline, the beginning of this new series starts related to what's going on in the X-Men comics, in which the vampires of the Marvel Universe have decided the best way to increase their powers is to bring the mutants over, make them into vampires. The mutants, the X-Men, their best idea is to bring Dracula back to get the vampires back in line. Namor is sent to retrieve Dracula's head. See, none of this is covered in the actual comic. Yes, now a lot of the comics do that front page where they try to bring you up to speed on everything. But this is a #1 comic. I mean, this is a first issue. I shouldn't have to go into a first issue of a comic thinking I've missed something. I need to go back and read something else. It's not an introduction to a series. It's a continuation of an currently ongoing story. I'm under the belief a first issue should be an introduction for all readers. Establish the character well and begin a new story, not continue something that's going on in other books. That's me, that's how I feel. And I think the character of Namor deserves more. He deserves his own story. As I said, I mean, the character who's created by, I have his name here, William or Bill Everett in 1939, he was one of the first ever Marvel comics, at the time known as Timely Comics, but one of the first Marvel superheroes introduced in Marvel Comics #1, along with the original robotic Human Torch, Quasar, and a vigilante known as the Angel. No relation to the Angel from the X-Men. I mean, just based on his history alone, he deserves more than this story. There's nothing wrong with the story itself. A few episodes back I reviewed World Weekly News. And why the title of this episode, or this issue, is Royal Blood, Part 1, Blood, Vampires reference. I mean, seriously, I think a more appropriate would be Vampire Mermen Guard Dracula's Head. Nothing wrong with it. Namor has been sent by the X-Men, and we're constantly reminded, yes, he's become a lackey, or seen upon by his fellow Atlanteans as a lackey for the mutants. They're upset with that. Even I'm upset with that. I mean, Namor should be doing his own thing on his own. I know it's going to come to a head, and I know it's going to be part of the continuing story. Namor needs to get back to the business of Atlantis. That's what I want to see. Completely forgot what it was. So he's sent for Dracula's head, as the other X-Men are going to get the body of Dracula, who was apparently killed by his son. Reunite the body and the head to stop the other vampires. That's the plan. Not enough of a story for Namor, but I'll stop on that. Enough of that. I would have liked more story, though. We pay for this comic. We get 26 pages of story. And then at the end, we get 8 pages of an Atlas file by Namora on Namor. None of which helps you enjoy the story at all. There was none of that, oh, I get this much more, or I understand this part of the story now, or enriches the character of Namor in any way. It's really just 8 branding pages of Namor's history, which is like reading the transcripts of a soap opera. I mean, the Wikipedia file on Namor is much clearer, much easier to read, much more understandable than what Marvel Comics themselves put in 8 pages, a quarter of the comic book. I mean, take that away, give me more story, or give me a backup story, or another character from the Atlantis, or Namor's history. Just 8 completely wasted pages as far as I'm concerned. Now the 26 pages aren't wasted at all. I mean, it's a utilitarian story. You've got to bring back Namor, or the storyteller, Stuart Margot's, is told, hey, Namor, as part of this Curse of the Mutant series, needs to bring back Dracula's head to the X-Men. Make that happen. He tells a story in which it starts to happen, which is fine. Nothing wrong with the story. Of course, the whole time I'm reading the story, and it could have just something to do with the artwork of, and I always mispronounce names, Ariel Olivetti. Great, nice, a fine digital artist. At least it appears to be a digital work. Kind of reminded me of Hellboy. Like, I think if you read this comic, you could seriously go back, remove Namor, and you can put Hellboy in there. Maybe it's Ariel's style of artwork. Maybe it's that supernatural story, because it includes vampires. But I thought about Hellboy. And in thinking of Hellboy, if we want to go in a direction with Namor, lean towards that. Lean towards the supernatural. Lean towards that Hellboy-esque kind of things. Bring in the deep ones. Go a little Lovecraftian with Namor. He doesn't have to be tied into the mutants. He can carry it on his own. So, let's see. So, yeah, enjoyed the art. good, utilitarian, fine story, but I want to see Namor tell his own story, have his own story. And if they do that with the series, I'll be happy. Well, I think that covers it. This has been Mike Fitzgerald with First Issue Review, Namor, #1 by Marvel Comics. See you next time.